Hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728, and I wanted to talk about what happens when you fall asleep. I think that it's something that hopefully everyone knows by now, the process of falling to sleep. But when I was younger, there are certain things that happen to you, like as you're drifting off to sleep, you might suddenly feel like you're falling, or I don't know, strange things. You might see strange things, and in the morning when you wake up, you might sometimes find out that you might feel like you can't move your body, like you're paralyzed. And growing up, and even when I was a young adult, people I know attributed these things to the supernatural. And as a young adult, I took a psychiatry class, Intro to Psych. I think I took it twice actually, in 2 different schools. And I was pretty surprised to learn what the steps were when it came to falling asleep. And how they related to these experiences that myself and other people that I knew might have had. What seems to happen when we are about to fall asleep and when we are asleep is that there are 4 stages of sleep that I'm aware of. As is the case for most of my talks and my videos, I'm doing most of this off of my memory. So if you see something that's wrong, you can always chime in and say specifically what's wrong. If you just say that's wrong, well, that's not really very useful, because you could be talking about almost anything. But one of the very first things that I learned was that when you're in stage 1, when you're just now falling to sleep, you tend to hallucinate. And that's where the feeling that you're falling, or that you've slipped, or that, those things where you just kick and you felt like you were slipping, so you jolted up. That's because we tend to hallucinate when we're falling asleep in the first stage of sleep. There are many other things that can happen when you are drifting off to sleep, and those things are perfectly natural. That's not any special case. It's just that it probably happens every time. We just don't remember it because we don't get shaken out of stage 1 very often. And when it is something unusual, we do remember it, and then we attribute it to some sort of supernatural force. With respect to stage 2, I don't remember that being too interesting. I do remember that stage 3 and stage 4 have to do with REM sleep and deep sleep. So REM sleep is rapid eye movement, and this is usually when we're dreaming. And stage 4 is deeper sleep. You need a certain amount of deep sleep in order to fully reap the benefits of sleeping, as far as I remember. One of the things about falling asleep, and especially in REM sleep though, is that our brain, it disconnects from the ability to control our body. So I think there's a certain hormone or something that is secreted that prevents us from acting out our dreams in real life, so that we don't start doing the things that we actually think that we're doing in our dreams. So this is perfectly natural, and it makes complete sense when you think about it. Of course, when you're waking up sometimes, the process of turning off that hormone or reconnecting to our muscles and our nervous system, it can be messed up. And as a result of that, there can be occasions where we are awake, but we haven't gotten control of our bodies back as yet. I remember one of my friends, he thought that this was, some, what is it, maleficent or some bad spirits were holding his body down. I don't know why they were holding his body down, why he thought that that was the case, but if you don't know about psychiatry or psychology actually, and how our bodies work, then you can always come to these conclusions, and maybe you might need to go see a medium or something like that. But that is perfectly natural, and it's actually something that you want to happen. When it doesn't work properly, I think that it leads to sleepwalking. And of course, you know that bad things can happen if you sleepwalk. So it's really the best thing, even if we, from time to time, we get that horrible feeling where we can't move a muscle even though we're wide awake. It's better for that to happen every once in a while than to have horrible injuries because we're doing things that we think that we're doing and we're not. Another thing that is interesting is that apparently during sleep, our frontal lobe, the thing that separates us from animals, our frontal lobe or prefrontal cortex, I believe it is what allows us to be individuals. I think I'm saying that right. Actually, what it does is it gives us a more control over our impulses. That's what the prefrontal cortex does, and it gives us our personality. So in the case of young people, the prefrontal cortex, they say, it only becomes fully developed by the age of 25, and that is one of the reasons, apparently, that younger people are less likely to have impulse control than older people. So for example, there's stories of all these things that younger people would do that might land them in jail or might get them hurt, or things that they would never do when they are 30, 40, 50, 60. It's not just your body, the capability of your body, it's also the capability of your mind to control yourself and to manage your impulses. So when we're asleep, it seems that we actually end up turning off that frontal lobe, and we lose a lot of our impulse control. So that's why while we're asleep, and this is according to a neuroscientist, I wish I could remember his name, but he was talking about it and explaining that that's why we end up doing so many crazy things while we're asleep, because our prefrontal cortex is turned off. So we get up to all sorts of stuff. And like I might have said at some point, I would, in my dreams, I would feel like I was smoking a cigarette. I would think that I had smoked, and I would be so disappointed in myself. And when I woke up and I realized that I hadn't actually smoked a cigarette, I would feel so relieved. And when you think about it, it makes sense, because my prefrontal cortex would have prevented me from breaking the promise that I'd made to myself, the commitment that I'd made to myself to never smoke again. Apparently our sleep cycles follow about 1.5 hours. So apparently we go it could be either from stage 2 to 4, and back again, or between 3 and 4. And as I mentioned, REM is stage 3, and in that period of time we have our eye motions. Like if you were looking at someone who was asleep, you would see the rapid eye motions. I presume because maybe your eyes are the only things that are not paralyzed at that point, so we look around the same way that we might if we were awake. But as I said, the sleep cycles go through about 1.5 hours. So I think, and this is something that it's been a long time, but I think that it suggests that perhaps the shortest period of time that maybe we should sleep for, if we're going to get that benefit of stage 4 sleep, that we need is at least about an hour and a half or so. One of the interesting things that people have mentioned is that apparently we dream every single night, but the idea is that we do not remember it. And as so far as I remember, it might be with respect to vitamin K. Vitamin K might be the vitamin that would help us to remember what our dreams are. And I can't tell you or suggest which foods have vitamin K. I think when I was interested in that, I might have gone and taken a supplement and checked to see if it had vitamin K. I don't know though if I was ever really that interested. Otherwise, I might be able to tell you exactly which foods have vitamin K in them. But yeah. Anyway, guys, this is just some stuff that I hope might be enlightening to some people who may feel that there's some sort of supernatural things that happen while you're asleep. And I hope it can debunk some people or make them interested and go researching some stuff on their own. So anyway, guys, wish me lucks. You can like or unlike, you can comment, you can share, and of course you can subscribe. I just messed that up. Alright, thanks. Peace.